Your water filter has an expiry date stamped on its sole, and the company that sold it is counting on you never finding that out. Right now, wherever that filter is sitting, in your pack, under your sink, clipped to the side of a bug-out bag, it is degrading. The hollow fiber membrane inside is narrowing. The pores are accumulating sediment too fine to flush back out. You can smell nothing wrong. The water runs clear. It tastes clean. That is the most dangerous part. You have somewhere between 500 and 1,500 liters of safe filtration left in that cartridge before the flow rate drops to a trickle, and after that it either fails slowly or it fails silently, passing contaminated water while still looking like it works. Medieval English water managers understood something about that failure mode 8 centuries before the first polymer filter was ever injection molded. They built systems that had no membrane to clog, no cartridge to replace, and no failure point that a single missed resupply could trigger. What they built still works. What you're carrying might not. The modern filter industry has done something clever with the word reliable. Reliable as they use it means the filter performs to specification under lab conditions with clean, pre-filtered water at a controlled flow rate. What they do not advertise is the turbidity limit, the point at which suspended particles in your source water begin to blind the membrane irreversibly. Most portable hollow fiber filters are rated for source water with a turbidity below 4 NTU, which is a unit measuring how cloudy water is. Flood runoff, disturbed creek beds, post-storm collection, all of it blows past 4 NTU easily. One flood event in the wrong conditions and you have just consumed your filter's entire service life in an afternoon. The manufacturer's response to that is not a design change. It is a new cartridge in a blister pack. That is not redundancy. That is a subscription. The slow sand filtration systems documented in 14th century English monastic records were not accidents of ignorance. They were engineered responses to the same contamination problem. Records from the abbeys of Yorkshire describe layered stone and sand water channels that served communities of several hundred people continuously for decades. No moving parts, no replacement schedule, no supply chain. The method was not primitive. It was deliberately over-engineered for permanence, and it worked on a biological principle that modern filtration science has now spent 2 centuries reverse engineering. The reason medieval sand filtration outperforms your cartridge isn't engineering, it's biology, and it's alive. The top layer of a properly built slow sand filter develops, over the first 2 to 4 weeks of operation, a community of microorganisms called the Schmutzdecke, a German scientific term meaning, in plain English, dirt skin or dirty blanket. That name does not do justice to what it actually is. The Schmutzdecke is a dense mat of bacteria, protozoa, algae, and organic matter that colonizes the top 2 to 5 centimeters of your sand layer. These organisms are predators. They consume pathogens, Cryptosporidium, Giardia, E. coli, and waterborne viruses, not by trapping them mechanically, but by eating them. Biological predation. It is an active, self-reinforcing immune system built directly into your water source, and it regenerates itself as long as water keeps moving through it. No UV lamp, no iodine tablet. No membrane rated to 0.2 microns that gradually blinds itself with every liter it processes. Think of it this way. Your cartridge filter works like a screen door. It physically blocks things from passing through, and every fly that hits it narrows the gaps slightly until the door no longer moves air at all. The slow sand filter works like a living gut lining. It doesn't just block, it digests, neutralizes, and expels. The screen door has a finite number of flies it can hold before it seizes. The gut lining feeds on what enters it, stays clean, and grows stronger the more it processes. Below the Schmutzdecke, the physics take over in 2 additional stages. The sand column itself, typically 60 to 90 centimeters deep, performs mechanical straining, which means particles larger than the interstitial gaps between sand grains simply cannot pass. This is the same principle that makes a coffee percolator separate grounds from liquid, except here the grounds include bacterial clusters, and sediment, heavy organic particles, and protozoan cysts. Deeper still, the fine sand and the gravel sublayer beneath it perform a process called adsorption. Not absorption, though the words sound identical. Absorption means a liquid soaks into a material like a sponge. Adsorption, the scientific process at work here, means contaminants are electrostatically attracted to the surface of individual sand grains and held there, like iron filings clinging to a magnet's face. Heavy metals. Certain dissolved organics and some chemical contaminants bind at this level and are drawn out of solution without any chemical addition. The World Health Organization has formally documented slow sand filtration as a validated drinking water treatment technology capable of achieving 99.98% removal of Giardia cysts and up to a 4-log, that is 99.99% reduction in bacterial contamination when the Schmutzdecke is fully mature. That is performance on par with municipal treatment systems. I'm built from materials you can source without a supply chain. What you need is not exotic. A food-grade container. A 200-liter barrel works well, though any watertight vessel of at least 80 liters is workable. Washed coarse gravel for the base layer. Clean fine silica sand for the primary column, the kind sold for children's sand pits or pool filtration, not builder's sand, which contains fines that will cloud your output for weeks. A drainage outlet near the base of the barrel, positioned above the gravel layer. A diffuser plate, a simple piece of rigid plastic or plywood with small holes drilled into it, suspended near the top to break the force of incoming water and prevent the Schmutzdecke from being physically disturbed during filling. That diffuser is the detail most people omit, and omitting it is the reason most home builds underperform. Place your container on a stable raised surface. You'll need gravity to drive the flow. And you'll need clearance below the outlet to collect what comes through. Step 1. Lay 10 centimeters of clean coarse gravel across the bottom of the barrel. This is your drainage and pre-support layer. Step 2. Add 5 centimeters of fine gravel on top of the coarse. This transition layer prevents the sand above from migrating down into the drain. Step 3. Add 60 centimeters of fine silica sand, poured carefully so it settles evenly. When adding sand and gravel, undo this in stages with the barrel partially filled with water. Pouring dry material into a dry barrel creates compaction pockets and air channels that reduce filtration consistency. The water acts as a guide medium, settling each layer flat and uniform. Step 4. Cut your diffuser plate to fit the interior diameter of your barrel and mount it 15 centimeters above the sand surface using small brackets or internal ledges. The gap between the diffuser and the sand surface is your operating water column. It should sit between 5 and 15 centimeters deep during normal operation. Never let the sand surface go dry. Exposing the Schmutzdecke to air for more than a few hours kills it, and you will lose 2 weeks of maturation time rebuilding it. Step 5. Run your source water through the filter continuously for 21 days before using the output for drinking. And this is the conditioning period. The Schmutzdecke needs time to establish. During this period, output water is safe for washing but not yet for consumption. On day 21, run a simple turbidity test using a clear glass. If the output water is visually clear and odorless, the biological layer is active. Step 6. Maintain flow rate by skimming and rinsing, not replacing, the top 2 centimeters of sand every 4 to 6 months. Backwashing, the way you'd clean a cartridge filter, destroys the Schmutzdecke entirely. Gentle surface skimming is all it needs. The performance data behind this method is not theoretical. The WHO's 2017 Drinking Water Quality Guidelines cite slow sand filtration studies from municipal systems in the Netherlands and the United Kingdom showing sustained pathogen removal over operational periods exceeding 20 years. A 2019 study published in the journal Water Research measured Schmutzdecke maturity across 14 independently built slow sand systems and found that filters built with correctly graded silica sand achieved full biological maturity, defined as consistent 3.5 log bacterial reduction in as few as 18 days under continuous flow. A cartridge filter delivers peak performance on day 1 and declines from there. A slow sand filter delivers baseline performance on day 1 and improves for the first month until it reaches a stable, sustained peak. In terms of cost, the comparison is uncomfortable for the industry. A quality hollow fiber portable filter runs between $50 and $130 and processes roughly 1,000 liters at rated efficiency before performance begins to drop. Replacement cartridges for undersink systems average $40 to $70 each. Interact with replacement intervals of 3 to 6 months for a typical household. Build a 200-liter slow sand filter using a reclaimed food-grade barrel, $12 of pool-grade silica sand, and $6 of gravel, and your total capital outlay is under $30 if the barrel is sourced secondhand. There is no replacement cost. The only ongoing input is the source water itself and the biannual 10-minute skim of the surface layer. Over 5 years, Staxons Gizamoniao verspabau whereat the cost difference between a maintained cartridge system and a slow sand build runs into hundreds of dollars. And that calculation assumes the cartridge supply chain never breaks. This is not a fringe or hypothetical method. The city of Amsterdam used slow sand filtration as its primary municipal treatment technology from 1853 through to the mid-20th century. Rural communities across sub-Saharan Africa have deployed WHO specification slow sand systems since the 1980s as their primary drinking water infrastructure. Engineers Without Borders has documented over 200 field installations across 3 continents, all operating without chemical inputs or replacement parts. This is not a backup plan. It is what water treatment looks like when it is built to last. Water infrastructure is the most quietly brittle system in the modern grid. A single contamination event, a single supply disruption, and the cartridges disappear from shelves within 72 hours. The filter in your bag is a product designed to be replaced. The system in the ground is designed to outlast the grid that sold you the product. You can keep feeding a supply chain that depends on your compliance, or you can build something that feeds itself. One of those options exists whether or not the shelves are stocked. Your move.